beloved. We are gathered here today to talk about Heaven, Here I Come. Welcome to another video from cardboardeast.com. My name is Jay. I play Asian board games and share what I find with all of you. So far on cardboardeast.com, I've talked about Taiwanese, Japanese, and Singaporean games. I've yet to talk about games that come from Hong Kong. So sit back, relax, and let's learn how to play Heaven, Here I Come. And here is Heaven, Here I Come. Chinese name is Tiantang, which is heaven. And this little voice was 我要进来了, which means I want to get into heaven. Because the story is you're standing outside of heaven and one guy's there and one of you can't come in. And let's open the box really quick, see what we see. Here's your nice little rule book. Comes in half Chinese and the other half is in English. You have all these player shields and it's really cool that there are people of color in here and women as well and old people of different colors. So they didn't have to do that, but I think that's really cool. It's a nice player cards with good quality here. Tokens are pretty bright and colorful. And inside art, you gotta love inside art. And this little centerpiece of the table, pretty simple. All right, let's set it up and see what's next. And welcome to Heaven, Here I Come. This game can play anywhere from 5 to 10 players. Here's a setup for 5 players. You're gonna take this centerpiece and put it in the center of the table. Each player will get their own player shield. If you notice on the bottom of the player shield, they're numbered 1 through 10. These will be numbered 1 through 5. You want to give each player a voting token and the corresponding number to their player shield. Then you're gonna take your deck of sin cards and you're going to take one card and put it in between each of the player shields. If you're player 1, you can then look but not reveal the card to your right, and then look but not reveal the card on your left. And each player, player 5 for example, will look at these 2 cards. So players 1 and 5 and players 1 and 2 will both share a card. Once the game is set up, you're going to take the deck of sin cards and you're going to divide them equally among the players. Now because this is a 5-player game and there are 25 cards in the deck, each player will get 4 cards. But if you're playing with, let's say, a 6-player game, you'll deal cards equally among each player, and then any card that's left over will get played here on the center board. Let's zoom in on player 1 and see what the game looks like from their perspective. You're going to open up the shield here, and you'll see this nice little chart that explains the order of the sins. So pride being the most dangerous, and lust being the weakest. You're going to flip over those 2 adjacent cards, and you'll see here, here's a skull, and then here's a heart. And you'll consult this chart here, skull and heart. Now I am wrath, and I don't know what the other player's sins are. But I am trying to find who has the weakest sin. I'm trying to find who has lust, and if there's no lust, I'm trying to find who has gluttony. And whoever has the lowest sin, I'm going to try and kick them out of the game and make sure they don't get into heaven. And there's a whole little chart here that kind of goes into more detail about how you play the game. Now, in addition to my identification sin cards, I'll also be given cards that I hide behind my shield. So for a 6-player game, I'll have 3 cards behind my player shield, and 1 card will be left over that I'll put at the center of the table. So I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 25 cards that I will know about. There are 5 different kinds of sins, and there are 5 of each kind, so a total of 25 cards. And then let's go back up to the big table and we can finish the setup of the game. Then, one at a time, each player is going to take their player token and choose 1 additional face down sin card. Now, I can't choose the cards adjacent to me, and I can't choose the cards adjacent to my adjacent players. But any of the other cards I can choose. So if I chose this card, I would take it, look at it, and then I would place my player token on top of that card. And then each player in clockwise order will continue to do this. And then you're ready to begin the game. And then there's a lot of unstructured dialogue and players talk and try to figure out who the scapegoat is. And remember, the scapegoat is the player with the lowest ranked sin. And once you think you know who it is, you'll take one of the cards behind your player shield, place it on the center display, and accuse that player of being the scapegoat. Then players will vote yes in agreement or no in disagreement. If everyone votes no, well, that card stays there, and then discussion continues and continues until someone else accuses. And then there's another vote involved. And if everyone votes yes, and then we find out, well, is the accused player the scapegoat? If yes, well then everyone else wins. If no, well then the scapegoat wins. And if you have any trouble figuring this out, then it's all explained here on the side of everyone's player shield. Now, in addition to this, the accused player also has a last stand where they can point out and identify who are all the highest ranked sinners. So if they could say, oh, Bob is envy, Joyce is pride, and Tom is wrath, and if they could do that correctly, well then, the scapegoat wins. I have never seen that happen. And that is how you play Heaven, Here I Come. Let's go back up top, and I can tell you what I think about this game. And before we get into my final thoughts on this game, I want to talk about where this game comes from. And not just Hong Kong, but China in whole. Why? Why do you want to do this? Just like movies, games don't exist in a bubble. Have you ever seen Ben-Hur? Great film. I love Ben-Hur. Have you seen the ship battles in Ben-Hur? Yeah, they're absolutely terrible. And it's hard for me to judge the movie on those ship battles because the movie was made, like half a century ago. And just like board games, they don't exist in a bubble either. You have to judge them by when and where they came from and when they came out. Now, China is a very unique gaming market and community. I mean, I don't know. Have you ever gamed in China? Now, for all you older gamers out there, you might remember a game called Bang. Now, when Bang first came out in North America, it was huge. It was big. Everybody loved it. Everyone played it. And when it finally made it all the way across to China, it was huge. It just exploded everywhere. Bang and Werewolf were immensely popular. In fact, one Chinese publisher took Bang and completely rethemed it with the Three Kingdoms retheming. All the mechanics were exactly the same, and it was huge. Sangguosha was the name of the game, and it was everywhere. Everyone everywhere was playing it in China. And it was so well, they decided, you know what, we're going to sell this in North America. And then the North American publishers said, hey, that's our game. And there was a huge lawsuit. Now, long story short, the Chinese publisher won. But that's actually a good thing. And you could comment below and tell me why I'm wrong. But it's definitely a good thing because otherwise, only one publisher can make deck builders. Only one publisher can make worker placement. And it's better for the community that everyone can try and play all these game mechanics. And that mechanics themselves, you can't copyright. You can copyright the name. That's why only Magic Gathering can tap cards. Everyone else's rotate 45 degrees, 90 degrees, 90, 40, 50. I'm not a math teacher. Anyway, long story short is that Werewolf and Bang are huge in China. And the fact that they can't just copy and paste Bang or Werewolf anymore, they started exploring and making their own new games. So if you go to Hong Kong, you'll find a lot of party games. A lot of games similar to Werewolf, but just a little bit different. Games that can play from 5 to 10 to 12 players. I don't know what it is. Like, everyone loves like social deduction games and sitting at a table and arguing, and Chinese gaming communities absolutely love doing that. And that is where this game comes from. This is a social deduction game. So if you're not into social deduction games, there's nothing I could say that's going to convince you otherwise that this game isn't for you. But if you are, stick around and listen to my thoughts. First, let's talk about components. The components are great. Everything's bright and colorful. So these player tokens are really bright and colorful and very clear. I really like that. The player shields have people of colors, black dudes, Asian dudes, and women. That's fantastic. They didn't have to do that, but thank you for doing so. The art has this great Edward Gorey, Tim Burton look to it. That's really fitting for this game. And the iconography of the game is, it's really simple and really clean and clear. Like, this game is not hard to teach at all. And all this playful art and this cute, really cute theme really make it easy for players to get into the theme and become more engaged within the game. And which is perfect and what you want in a social deduction game. Now, the only negative that I had with this game is that as soon as the game starts, that's just kind of the game. There's no structure to the social deduction. At least in Spyfall, everyone takes turns asking questions, so you can slowly deduce who's who in that game. Or in Coup, you just go in a circle, and it's really fast. Go in a circle and you ask questions, and it's lightning fast, and it's structured very well. Or In the previous party game that I talked about, Meow Meow Mia, the cop is asking each individual criminal a question. And every criminal is looking how each individual criminal is answering the question. So there's structure to the chaos. This game, there's no structure at all. You're arguing, you're talking, you're arguing. Someone makes an accusation, you vote. You vote yes, game is over. You vote no, you argue and argue and argue, someone makes an accusation. So it really depends on not just you, but who your gaming group is. Do you have people who are proactively talkative? Do you have people who are willing to talk and drive the game? If so, then this game is a good suggestion for you. I recommend your group try this game. If not, it's hard for me to recommend this because shy people aren't really going to be interactive enough in the game. People who suffer from anxiety are not going to be proactively playing this game. Now, granted, I mean, if you suffer from anxiety like I do sometimes, you're going to have trouble with social deduction games, period. So the times that I played this game, it was successful in some groups and not so in others. So the groups that were with lots of passionate, outgoing people, it was fine. People had this cute, fun banter, and there was a lot of fun going back and forth. I definitely had fun, which is the most important thing you need in a game. For the other groups that were, a little bit shy, maybe not everyone's native language is English, it didn't work as well. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Heaven, here I come. Now I do have a variant. I normally don't like house rule, but I just can't help myself. I do have a house variant with this game, and that's just simply you go around in a circle and everyone asks a question. You can ask a question to one individual, or you can ask a question to the whole group. The only rule is that your question can't be about the cards on the side. You can't ask about the identity SIN cards. Outside of that, you can ask about anything. And that's what is kind of fun about this game. If you know that someone has sloth, or you think someone has gluttony, you could ask people, oh, do you think that you ate too much? And people could vote, raise their hand or not. And you can kind of see who's hesitant or not, and you can get more information. Now, with all social deduction games, there's a little bit of a logic puzzle, and that's what I like in these games. You're slowly deducing who's who. This game's a little bit trickier because how the IDs and the SINs work. So ideally, depending on the player count, like sometimes you have like 28%, sometimes you have 44% of knowledge of what all the cards are. And you kind of have to make accusations and everyone votes no, so that way you slowly get more information. I think this game plays well, 5 to 10. I didn't play all the player accounts. I'm not a big fan of games that have 10 people because it's hard to get everyone listening and engaged and hearing what everyone else is saying. And sometimes a few people are loud and they could really drive the game. So I like this kind of game with fewer people. I mean, 5 is fine. I really enjoyed it at 7 or so, but I think 10 is just a little bit too much for me. But overall, if you really like social deduction games and you're looking for something new and that's fun and a little bit quirky and a really cool theme, then I recommend checking out Heaven, Here I Come, or definitely learning more about it. And if you just like social deduction games in general, then I would definitely check out a lot of Hong Kong games because they do have a lot of social deduction games and they're really, really, really into that. I do like that, like everything you need to know is here on the player aids, but I've never been a big fan of player aids, player shields, because I don't like looking down like this. It just kind of hurts my back, or leaning back, or lunging down to see it. It's just not my cup of tea. But this game is simple enough that you don't really need that. And now, if you're asking about replay value, then I don't know what to tell you, because you can play Werewolf, and some people play Werewolf like hundreds and hundreds of times. And if that's you, then maybe this is something that you would be interested in. Anyways, I want to say a big, big thank you to Broadway Games for sending me this review copy and helping make this review possible. I also want to thank my Patreons. That's right, with an S. That's not an S. This is an S. No, wait, that's a backwards. That's for you. It's an S. Or was that a 5? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments below, if you learned anything at all, please comment below. Share with me and share your thoughts. And if you like any Asian board games that you want to know more about, comment below and nag me about it. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and I'll see you next week with a new video.